Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to explain to you exactly why the Supreme Court will uphold a prosecution and conviction of James Comey for threatening President Trump. He almost certainly knew that 8647 was a call to the ether for somebody someplace to do something, to commit an atrocity. Comey is not as ignorant as he claims to be. Almost certainly not as ignorant. He faces a perjury trap, and I explained that yesterday. He tells the truth. He committed a crime. He continues to lie. He's continuing to commit a crime. But this is exactly why the Supreme Court has essentially already upheld the conviction of Comey. Hit subscribe. Check this out. Some objective understanding of the threatening nature of his statements. That's Elena Kagan. You think Comey had an objective understanding of the nature of his statements? Check this out. This is exactly why the Supreme Court will uphold a conviction.
Pay attention to this. This has just happened. Law enforcement sources are confirming to Fox that an armed man was arrested near the Maryland home of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh.
This is, of course, 2 years ago.
That happened early this morning. These are just the reports that we're getting in. And Sean, we know that the justices, there were protests outside of their homes. We know that those were encouraged. And of course, nobody was encouraging violence, but there was a great concern about violence. And thankfully, this person has been arrested. But your thoughts this morning as we get this breaking news that armed man has been arrested near Justice Kavanaugh's home in Maryland.
Yeah, when you don't tamp down the energy of your movement, the pro-abortion movement, you encourage people to break the law and protest outside of Supreme Court justices' homes, which is breaking the law. People become radical. They do radical things, and that's when you get folks to pick up a gun and endanger the life of whether it was Steve Scalise on the baseball field or now a Supreme Court justice. Again, this is a time for Democrats to say, you know what, we may disagree with the court's potential ruling on Roe v. Wade, but you know what? We have to stand down, peacefully protest in places where we're allowed to protest. Go to the mall of the Capitol, but we don't protest and attack judges personally or their families or their homes. And I think that would be the right message from Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer. But I don't see that message coming anytime soon, Dana, because they think that political pressure, that anger that's going to come towards the justices may actually move them away from this ruling that may come on Roe v. Wade.
So this was an attempt to intimidate the Supreme Court. It didn't work. Okay, it didn't work. The Dobbs decision still took place. It didn't work. And Chuck Schumer also should have been indicted and convicted of threatening the Supreme Court. A man almost took the life of a Supreme Court justice. And Bill Maher explained exactly what would have taken place if, God forbid, the tables were turned.
Comedian Bill Maher accusing the New York Times of burying reporting on the assassination plot on Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh.
The New York Times buried this.
Yeah, it was like a tiny thing below the fold.
If this had been a liberal Supreme Court justice that someone came to kill, it would have been on the front page. They just wear their bias on their sleeves, and if it's not part of something that feeds our narrative, it.
Ashley Ringberg, the author of The Gray Lady Winked, How the New York Times Misreporting, Distortions, and Fabrications Radically Alter History, joins.
So there's been Supreme Court precedent that says you can actually make really egregious statements against a sitting president, okay? But there has to be a genuine call for the president, God forbid, to be harmed. Do you think Comey knew that we're approaching the 1-year anniversary of Butler, Pennsylvania? This is President Trump. This is President Trump right here a year ago. This is 2 years after the attempt on Kavanaugh's life. All of this took place during Biden's administration. All of this took place during Democrats, the same people who are so petrified of authoritarians and tyrants and despots. Yet all the political chaos, mayhem, violence, intimidation comes from their side of the political divide. You can try and accuse the lone monster committing a mayhem and say, oh, well, that's from the right or conservatives. No, it's not. It's a person who is a maniac that lost his mind. Has nothing to do with the political ideology. The political ideology that foments this type of intimidation and ending lives is the same political ideology, the Democratic Party, liberal Democrats, progressives, the left, that champions Luigi Mangione, the same individual that ended the life of a healthcare CEO. You don't like the healthcare CEO, change the laws, don't end people's lives. You have people championing a person who allegedly murdered, almost certainly did, an innocent man, a man who had kids, husband, he was a husband, had kids, had a family, and Democrats are saying, oh, Luigi Mangione is a hero. Okay, so now you have Comey, after the Luigi Mangione, after the attempt on Kavanaugh, and after the attempt on Trump, the 1-year anniversary. Check, did Comey not realize that we just experienced this as a country?
I want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Move this there. Hold. When you're ready. On you.
Ready?
Move.
Up.
Move. Go.
Up. Hawkeye's here.
We ready?
Okay, we are watching live at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, where former President Trump was speaking on the stage. There has been some kind of disturbance that clearly sets law enforcement and Secret Service into motion, immediately jumping around the former president in a protective mode. The crowd has been screaming. They are standing by. You can hear some voices there saying, are we ready to go? Are we ready to go? We are looking at President Trump. This does not look good. I'm going to be honest with you, from what we can see right here, it looks like they are attempting to move him out, that he may have been injured. He is holding up his arm. He is pumping his fist, but clearly Secret Service wants to get him out of this situation. He is attempting to stand and walk on his own. He has got his hand pumping in the air. His fist is pumping in the air, but quickly they are removing him from the stage.
And we have a man who did lose his life that day. His life was taken that day. Did Comey not realize that? Comey knows almost certainly that if he sends a message into the ether, that in this day and age, he thinks, or a lot of Democrats and liberals think, well, if he just makes the message broad and vague and ambiguous, it's not a genuine threat. But nowadays, any type of message by a person of Comey's, resume is a legitimate threat. This is exactly why.
This morning, we're hearing from a doctor who was in the crowd and tried to treat Corey Compatore in the moment after the shooting in Trump's Butler, Pennsylvania rally.
Pete is live there now with that doctor, Jim Sweetland. Pete.
Hey, Rachel. Will, thank you very much. That's right. We're here with Dr. Sweetland. He's an emergency physician, so he works in the emergency room, familiar with this. You were here on July 13th.
Yes, I was.
When those shots rang out. Take us back to that moment, if you would.
Yeah, it was like a rock and roll concert. It's a beautiful sky like today. I was up underneath the Jumbotron to Trump's right. Shots rang out. There were three bursts, like pops. I thought they were firecrackers, followed by pods and then four other shots. Shortly after that, everybody in the crowd turned to the right to look to where the shots were coming from. And shortly after that, Trump was just surrounded by a pyramid of Secret Service within an instant. I heard a woman, probably about 40 feet diagonally down on the bleachers, call out, he's been shot, he's down. And at that point, I hesitated, but then I heard a voice, clear as I'm speaking to you, that said, go, they need your help. What are you waiting for? And I thought at first it was a voice of an attending I had during my residency training, where they just pound stuff into you. They give you a skill set and you got to go. And I really believe now it was God. I went down there. The crowd, being from Western Pennsylvania, did not stampede. They huddled in place and enabled me to climb over them to then render aid to Corey. I was assisted by two veterans, both from the Air Force. I want to call out to them. Ed Shear, hey, thanks for helping me. Enrico Elmore, who helped me lift Corey. He's a big guy. He's about 6'2", probably about 220 pounds. I couldn't lift him by myself. And despite the blood and obvious distress that he was in, they helped me get him back up, and I performed CPR on him, both cardiac compressions and mouth-to-mouth resuscitation for about 2 minutes. And then I was tapped out by state police, Pennsylvania State Police, by two of the biggest state police officers I've ever met.
So did Comey not realize that we're approaching the 1-year anniversary where this firefighter lost his life? And a doctor and others around him were, tried desperately to save him. Did Comey not realize that 8647 was a call into the ether? Nowadays, with social media, the traditional viewpoint of, well, it has to be a genuine threat. A former director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, somebody who's seen as a leader of the Democratic Party, somebody who's seen as the moral force, the guiding moral light. Comey has been the guiding liberal Democratic moral and ethical guiding light, guiding force. If he is making that statement on a platform that he knows his followers are anti-Trump vehemently, they have only vitriol and venom towards Trump. Good luck defending Comey if you're a liberal or progressive or left-leaning pundit. And again, if you're the type of person that is, let's say, offended by the grammatical manner in which you're introduced, but you're okay with this type of overt threat against the president, I don't know what to tell you. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. I think I've presented the case pretty clearly in this segment, exactly why the Supreme Court will uphold any conviction.